This is where principle and practicality start to separate, right? Because the torture program was sanctioned when it was initiated.
Yes.
And the men and women who did the duties, executed the job, and executed the duties that were assigned to them as they swore in their oath, like they didn't sleep well either.
Sure, I understand that, but in their oath, they swore to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
And it was a legal program that they were assigned to carry out. And you already said if they curtailed their...
But was it legal? Because no court ever ruled that it was legal. No court. They said it was too highly classified to even present to a court. So just take our word for it. That's what you and Bybee's conclusion was.
So I find that this is very similar to the argument for Edward Snowden and Snowden's quote unquote whistleblowing, right? And what oftentimes becomes the argument for whistleblowers in general. Whistleblowers are protected and they should be protected.
Some are.
When they do things the right way.
Oh, no.
To your point about how you would have done differently.
What about the case of Tom Drake?
I don't know Tom Drake.
Tom Drake was a senior intelligence service officer at NSA. He his first day was September 11th, 2001. He had been a full colonel in the Air Force. There's Tom Drake. And he became aware immediately after 9/11 of the plan to initiate warrantless wiretapping of American citizens. So there was a competing software program that NSA had developed that would weed out U.S. persons and target only suspect numbers. And General Hayden, who at the time was the head of NSA, this is before he went over to CIA, said that 9/11 was the opportunity that NSA had been waiting for, to just vacuum up everything and then sort it out later. So Tom went to the general counsel, and the general counsel had not been read into the program. And so the general counsel said, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing I can do. He went to the inspector general. The inspector general said that this was over his pay grade and that he should go to the DOD inspector general. He went to the DOD inspector general with documents. The DOD inspector general leaked the information back to NSA and said, you have a rogue officer here, which was illegal. He was supposed to be protected. When the DOD IG never did anything, Tom went to the HPSI, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, fully cleared staff member, turned everything over, was charged with 9 felonies, including 7 counts of espionage. On the day that he was arrested and his house was raided, his wife was also an NSA senior intelligence service officer. And the FBI went and said, we've arrested your husband this morning and we're raiding your house right now. You're either with him or you're with us. And she chose them. So he lost his pension. He lost his 5 kids. He lost his wife. He lost his house. He lost his career. And then when he went bankrupt, they dropped all the charges.
So did Tom follow the proper whistleblower protocol?
Absolutely.
What's interesting here, though, is that he also didn't get charged.
He was charged.
No, he was never convicted.
Only because it was the judge that threw the charges out. He ended up taking a plea to a misdemeanor count of misuse of a government computer because, to save face, DOJ came back and said, look, you got to plead guilty to something. If we're going to drop 9 felonies, you got to plead guilty to something. So his lawyer said, think of something that they can charge you with. So he admitted that on his lunch break one day, he had looked at Facebook on a government computer. And so they gave him 18 months of unsupervised release.
So we're seeing the technicalities here again, right? Technically, he was not punished criminally for blowing the whistle. It was internal machinations that ended up ruining his life. And that's
generous, though. The only reason they arrested him and charged him was because of his whistleblowing.
But this is the problem with well, they had counts that they charged him with that were related to his sharing of documentation. But the protections for whistleblowers have to do with protections in court. They don't have to do with protections culturally or within the bureaucracy or within whatever else. Like you don't have protections there.
Right.
If you violate the culture, you violate the culture. And these are organizations with a culture of secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I respect the fact that you say it was worth it. You're the one that paid the penalty. You're the one that did the time. You're the one that carries that, right? For me, I was led into a world of secrets. I'm going to keep those secrets. I don't see any value in blowing a whistle on secrets because we are always in compartmentation.
Yeah, but
we
there's
don't
a
ever
difference,
know
though.
the whole story.
But there's a difference, though, between blowing the whistle on secrets and blowing the whistle on a crime.
The definition of crime changes based on the interpretation of the law.
Yeah, but the definition that is the law now is the definition that I used.
You made a call based on what you thought was criminal.
Yes.
That others did not think was criminal.
That's right.
And as a result, after time and after the public disclosure of the case, the law was changed. That's your prerogative, man.
Yeah.
That's 100% your prerogative.
That's why I say it was worth it.
But for me, I see it differently, man. Like Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden's another case where he brought something to light and then the law changed. Mm-hmm. That dude is never coming back to the United States.
He has offered to repeatedly. The problem
is he wouldn't get a fair trial, right?
No way. Not a chance. In the Eastern District of Virginia?
Right.
Please.
Well, he is a criminal, man. That's what I'm saying. The laws may have changed, but he still violated the oath, the secrecy that he took.
But his defense is that it is illegal to classify a crime. This is actually in the U.S. Code. You cannot classify a program for the purpose of keeping it from the American people if it is a criminal act.
That cannot be the purpose of the classification. But by nature of what we do, there's 5 other reasons to classify the act.
Yeah, but if the act is illegal at its core, it can't be classified. See, and this is what argues for an affirmative defense.
Didn't you just say everything we do is illegal? We espionage is illegal. We have a carve out
overseas,
right? And that's where we're carrying out the act.
Yeah, but what he was saying, he was exposing crimes committed against Americans.
He was exposing a program to collect bulk data.
Yeah, but that was being collected against Americans.
It was being collected for the purposes of identifying terrorist activity.
In part, I think you're being generous. I do. Why does the government need my metadata? Why do they need a facility so huge that they have to build a new place in the Utah wilderness to hold, enough data to last 500 years? What do they need my data for? They don't need my data. In fact, not only does the law say they can't collect it, the NSA charter says they can't collect it.
It's being collected by the service provider anyways.
That's okay.
How do you say one is okay and one is not?
Because the law is the law. If the service provider's collecting it and the Justice Department needs it, then the Justice Department can get a judge to issue a warrant to get it. That's not up to NSA and CIA to collect my data.
That's only when you are being looked at as an American citizen for committing a crime as an American citizen.
Which is my constitutional protection.
The fact that your metadata exists and it's not personally attributable to you, but it can be used to reverse engineer terrorist activity. And oh, by the way, some terrorists are American citizens. All of a sudden, unless you have something you want to hide, metadata is fair game.
But do you know who the first person was to pose that question in a public venue? That, well, if I'm not doing anything illegal, then who cares? It was Joseph Goebbels. And I don't want to go down that road. I believe in individual freedoms. I really do. I believe that government works for us, that government should be responsive to us. Not that we should fear government. That, well, I just hope a bad guy doesn't get elected, or I hope a bad guy doesn't become the head of the FBI or the CIA or NSA and decide to look at me and then piece together some kind of false narrative of something that I did using metadata.